All right, everyone. So I just got done watching Tales of the Walking Dead, episode number 2, Blair and Gina. Got some early access through AMC Plus, and honestly, I gotta say, it was a pretty good episode. It was really interesting to see the way they did this one. Not only was it unlike anything we've ever seen from the Walking Dead universe, but I just really loved the idea of this episode, and it actually ended up feeling a lot more like a zombie apocalypse Black Mirror, if that makes any sense. So just like what I did for the first one with the Joe and Evie episode, I'm going to be going through Reddit's reactions to see what the reception is of this episode. As I mentioned in the last one, the reception of Joe and Evie was not as strong as I thought it was. I really liked that episode looking back, and now having seen it, I was really excited to go forward to see this one, Blair and Gina, because in the trailers, the idea of it was all about the apocalypse starting in Georgia. I was really looking forward to seeing how they were going to translate that to TV. And I liked what they did. Let me put it this way. For the first 20-ish, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the episode, I loved what I was seeing. I really did. Thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a really cool aspect to have this deja vu / why are we here? It really felt like something out of Black Mirror, but I don't really like the way it ended. Even though I liked the overall story of it, and even though the plot was fun, the characters were cool, I didn't really love the execution at the end. Maybe it's because I'm so spoiled by shows like Better Call Saul, but I felt like at the end, and this is where I get into some spoiler territory, I feel like the characters at the end telling us the ending the way they did just felt really cheap. It didn't feel like a good writing excuse to me. And I was really hoping the writers would do something a little bit smarter. Again, maybe I'm just spoiled by Better Call Saul, where they don't tell you things, you just have to assume, or you have to, use context clues to figure out where you're going. At the end of this episode, after all the deja vu of the two characters going back and forth, like, we've done this already, we've been here, we're both seeing the same thing, the explanation at the end is, oh, maybe you just being crazy is why we're going crazy. Maybe none of this was real at all, and maybe we just came here because we were both going crazy. I think I need to see this one again, because on first glance, the ending and the quote unquote twist that we saw in this, it felt so cheap. But again, I really liked the idea of the episode, and I liked how it kind of had that Black Mirror vibe, but the execution at the end, it was pretty poor to me. So while I liked it, I can't say it was one of my favorites. Again, I think it's just because I'm spoiled by, being obsessed with Better Call Saul as of late. But that's pretty much all I have to say about it before I get into some Reddit remarks, because, there's not much there. It was a short story, and I forget, who were the actors on this one? Let's see, Tales of the Walking Episode 2. Let's see, Episode 2. So it's Blair and Gina. Let's see if I could figure out who was in it. Because the actresses did a really good job. So we have Parker Posey playing Blair. That's a tongue twister. And then we have Jillian Bell playing Gina. This is them. Yada yada yada. You've probably seen the trailers for it anyway. Oh, and my thing is covering it so you can't even see, but this is them. You can see them kind of under my face, whatever. All right, so let's just jump into some reviews here, see what we have to say. Okay, this one's a little too long for me to read on the first one. I'm going to go down here. All right, so we have from Doom. Let's make sure we're in view on OBS here. So we have weird episode. I had no idea what was going on, but I liked it. Good, weird episode. I wonder where Gina and Blair are now. So either those two are really crazy or some paranormal shit just busted in The Walking Dead out of nowhere. Yeah, so that's how I feel about this episode overall. It was weird, but the kind of weird that I'm looking for. I actually really liked the aspect that it was relatively weird, because I like things like Black Mirror, and I liked, those kind of things that make you ponder and make you want to watch again. I really appreciated it for that, but I do admit that it was a little weird, and I especially am not a big fan of the execution. I don't know if it was necessarily paranormal. I just think the writers were honestly just trying to be cool here. Next, that was from Doom4104, by the way. Next one I see here is from Thornhill Industries. I thought the first episode was okay, but I enjoyed this one a lot more. Yeah, me too. Parker Posey and Jillian Bell are fun, and I'm a sucker for the stories that play with time. Yeah, me too. Nothing crazy there. All right, so Who's Da Mac says, actually, I have another theory. I think Blair and Gina died after the first few minutes of the episode, i.e. the first time the tanker exploded. Their shared psychosis of the time loops was basically them just trying to come up with ways of getting out of the situation. The psychosis infection, if there is such a thing, probably happened much earlier in the office, maybe. I think that the Gina character was reading something on the internet about the dying brain at the start of the episode. The deaths of these characters is the only way this episode would remotely make any kind of sense. Look, I totally agree with this, but I feel like if this was the case, they wouldn't have focused so heavily on the two characters saying multiple times throughout the episode, "We're not dead, are we? Did we die? Are we dead? Blah, blah, blah." I feel like if that's, what they were going for, they wouldn't have focused so heavily on that being the outcome. But I'd like to think it is too, and maybe this is what the writers were going for. Maybe they wanted people to ponder. But then again, if they wanted people to ponder, why would the last 4 minutes of the episode focus on, I don't know which one Gina or which one Blair is, the blonde-haired one? Why would she be like, well, it's joint psychosis or whatever? Like, it felt so cheap, and I feel like the fact that they explained it was the definitive thing the writers wanted us to think it was. Maybe, art is open for interpretation. Maybe there's an explanation they have about it, but, usually when they explain stuff like that, they're trying to get you to think a certain thing. Could be wrong, though. Okay, so I'm going to go to, no. I don't feel like reading these long ones. No offense, Frank Farrow, at all. That's just way too long for this. Okay, we have random comment from the 100 Broken. What the fuck, LMAO? I couldn't agree more. For real, the fuck is this episode? The Matrix? Yeah, I know. Liked the idea, but I also didn't really like how cheap they made it at the end. Let's see here. Personally wonder if they are showing what may be happening in the brains of people after they are bitten. A cycle of life flashing before their eyes as they degrade into becoming a walking dead. A soul consciousness just stuck in a rotting body trying to figure out how they could have survived. Purgatory, I guess. Yeah, it's a possibility. This comment, by the way, was from S. Gain 1987. I mean, yeah, hold on. Before I go on, he goes on to say, I don't think they could have survived the blast at the end, and they walked away like zombies. I do agree with that. My looking way too deep into it. Final thought, the shared psychosis, maybe the infection creates a kind of hive mind explaining the herds and why them dying together, they shared a purgatory. This is a cool theory, but again, it goes back to what I'm saying. I feel like they would have blatantly made it obvious if that's what they were going for, but they didn't when it came to this. So for as great as I think this theory is, I don't know. Maybe there's a podcast or, something where they talk about this episode later, like an inside the episode, and they describe it a little bit. But as of right now, I feel like it's kind of just what they were going for. Let's see, from All But One Day. This episode has a nice Twilight Zone type twist with the time loop, and the two leads had great chemistry together. I agree. And seeing the people's reaction to the initial outbreak is always super interesting and relevant. This is pretty much exactly how I feel about it. So the first part of this, Twilight Zone type of twist. One of my all-time favorite shows is The Twilight Zone, and I also like Black Mirror, and I feel like I really like where they're going with Tales, where it's kind of somewhere in between just one-off random like cutesy stories and then one-off more Twilight Zone-like episodes. I feel like Tales of the Walking Dead really should be more of a Twilight Zone Black Mirror sort of thing, because it fits so well with the Walking Dead universe for it to be that way, but they haven't really proven that yet. This episode was the closest they've came, but it's still, like I said, it wasn't too promising. The twist at the end of it was very underwhelming. So I kind of question what the writers are thinking, or even the showrunner, Scott Gimple and whomever, what they're thinking when it comes to this show. What's the mission with it? I get it's one-off stories of The Walking Dead, but I feel like this kind of plot has so much potential, especially when they're one-off episodes, because we're not building rapport with these characters forever. They're one-off episodes. If they went just with Twilight Zone style twists all the time, that would be awesome. And it would be even more awesome if Rod Serling came back for an episode, even though he's dead. Because Rod Serling was the best narrator ever. And if you don't know who that is, that's the Twilight Zone's narrator and all the ones, your next stop, the Twilight Zone. That guy. Anyway, let's see, from Hakashin Champa. Said they finally did it. We got superpowers in the Walking Dead universe. Makes sense. Morgan somehow shows up in every Fear episode to help everyone. He must have teleportation. That's facts. Let's see. Alger non-TMM said, absolutely wild that while Rick Grimes was in a coma, there were two women just edge of tomorrowing their way through the apocalypse. That is true. All right, from Lime Shake, we have, that was one of the dumbest episodes I've ever watched, but at least it wasn't boring. Yeah, I agree with this. Again, I'm not going to hate on the episode because I thought it was kind of a good story, other than the ending. It was cheap, but it wasn't boring. It was at least entertaining to watch. I'll give it that. And yeah, Lime Shake, totally spot on here. Okay, so this one's a little long, but I'll read it. From Injury Apprehensive 35, we have, I liked this episode better than the first. The writing was better and the acting was pretty good. I guess the ending is canon, yet it reminded me of The Walking Dead Season 2 opening where Rick's group is trying to get out of Atlanta, but are blocked by miles of roadblock. Could the highway where Gina Blair take out the Horde be the same one? Yeah, it's a possibility. The truck motif was rough to watch from a visual perspective. I guess the CGI that is complex to do with a certain budget. Yeah, may I say the CGI where there was bombs going off like every 5 seconds and it was horrible in this episode. You could really tell they don't have a strong budget for it. And that actually gets me really worried for the Rick spinoff, for the Daryl spinoff, and for even Isle of the Dead, because they're paying a lot for these actors, and they're paying a lot for these actors even in Tales of the Walking Dead, yet I feel like they have to struggle bus on the budget, realistically, because, you know, I feel like they're spreading themselves too thin, the Walking Dead franchise. Again, I love the canon show, I love The Walking Dead, but I really don't like the direction that it's going in. I like Scott Gimple when he was writing at his core, like in season 4, season 5, 6, yada yada. But I don't really like the direction he's taking this franchise. I'm very interested to see what they do with the Isle of the Dead and all of them, but I hope they don't cheap out on the budget like they're doing for this. So then Injury Apprehensive 35 finishes, give the woman getting attacked by the zombie in front of the Mart and Oscar for that scream, done in multiple takes too, even Blair mentions it, haha, yep. All right, from Daft69, we have, I thought they were doing a Final Destination type scenario at first with this episode. Gotta say I'm really enjoying the lightness of the episode so far, but still keeping the horror aspects when they need to. I agree with this because one of the things I really liked about this episode was they did highlight the horror element of it. When news was breaking and everyone was scared in this episode, you really got that sense of paranoia that I thought was really missing from this show. So I can't say I'm mad about that. Yeah, let me zoom in just a tad more here. There. Let's go there. All right. So I'm only going to read a couple more because we're already running at like the 14-minute, 30-second mark here. From Mulder Yuffie. I actually really liked this episode, LOL. Yeah, no, I did too. Other than, like I said, I thought it was a little cheap. I did like the episode too. From Play Up Trio. To be frank, I don't get the critics. If there is a show where they should experiment with weird ideas and concepts and genres, it is this one. Totally agree with that. I'm glad they're taking the opportunity to do just that. We already have the main show plus 5 spin-off trying to take things seriously, and the 3rd and 4th episodes of Tales are going to be more serious as well. Or at least so it seems. So I'm glad to enjoy the ride as much as I can. Let them go crazy with it. You know, I agree with this. I feel the same way. That's why I like Tales of the Walking Dead as an idea more. And even if these one-offs are not good, that's okay. Because they have, number one, they have 6 to do this season, and I'm sure they're going to renew it. I doubt they're just going to do one and done. I really do. It's The Walking Dead. I doubt they're going to do it. And even if the first couple of these suck, they have so many iterations to get it right and find their groove that I'm okay with sacrificing a couple episodes. And again, Joe and Evie was not bad. This one was not bad. So I'm okay with it, you know, finding its groove. These aren't going to be Martin Scorsese level or Vince Gilligan level or, you know, anything crazy. But I do like them. They're cute one-off stories. They fit well, and they're honestly relatively entertaining. Way more than World Beyond and Fear. Let's see, I'm only going to read 2 more. So, Anxious Leadership 18 says, I've been a fan of Parker Posey since Scream 3, so seeing her pop up in the Walking Dead universe was really cool to see. The episode itself was really fun, and I'm glad the franchise is experimenting with new concepts. An anthology series like this is the perfect way to do things like a time loop episode. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And then, okay, this one's too long. Let's get one more in here. Lucar115 says, that episode was weird as hell, but I was extremely into it, LMAO. Much more enjoyable than the first. I don't know if it was much more enjoyable than the first, but I do agree that it was fun to watch. And yeah, I feel like I've kind of expensed everything I could really say about it because, you know, this has helped me here because I share a lot of feelings that a lot of people have said in this subreddit today. I liked the episode. I liked the idea of the episode, but again, I really feel like the ending was cheap. Again, probably because I'm spoiled by shows like Better Call Saul. But I like the direction that they're going in with Tales overall. I'm happy to see them stick with this one-off sort of weird idea because it's really the only time they're going to get to do this in a zombie apocalypse show like this. So yeah, next week we have the one with Alpha, and believe it or not, I don't really care at all about Alpha. I don't give a shit to see this episode, but obviously I'm going to watch it, and most likely I will come back for one of these, depending on how I'm feeling. I don't want to just do TV reviews on this channel, but as of late, I've just been into Tales. I've been obsessing over Better Call Saul, so I figured, you know what, let me just document them. We'll see where they go. Just to clarify really quickly, I do like Alpha as a character. I loved Alpha in the comics. I loved Alpha on TV, but I really don't care for a backstory for her. You know, I'm going to go in with an open mind because maybe it's a great episode, but even the trailer looked really boring to me. So we'll see. I'm going to try to go in with an open mind, but it's hard when I'm already closing it saying this stuff. And yeah. That's it for today.